Well, it feels awkward to be back here after 13 months of radio silence, hence me trying to take a pose which is nonchalant, as if I don't care, but I do. So it is a bit embarrassing, just naming it. So I want to this video is about 2022, as in why I disappeared. Although only really from YouTube. I was active on my Instagram and on my emails newsletter, which you may have signed up last time I showed up here. I gave the details of that. But even on my Instagram and YouTube, I was really putting on hold everything I have built with darker materials. So I was more active there, but it was still, like I say, I basically took a year off. Well, no, that's too long. About 6 solid months of astrology. So I finished my Saturn school last end of February, early March, and I announced that I am not working for the foreseeable future, and that future extended all the way to September, late September, early October, when I reintroduced astrology and had a blast of a month. And this is the embarrassment. I feel bad that I haven't announced it here, so someone who doesn't maybe get to see me on Instagram on my email would have loved a reading with me, or I had an experience I created which was a blast, which was such a success. But yeah, I didn't announce it here, so I feel bad about that. That's the embarrassing piece that I referred to at the beginning of this video. So, and then I had it was like a final curtain, if that's the expression, or final bow, you know, when theatre people come out and it's like a last time they're being called out. So I think that was, I didn't know that at the time, but it ended up being my last appearance, my last time. I don't know the word for that, you know, when at the end of the play and then the actors come out a few times and then the last time they come out to the applause. So yeah, I created the experience and had a major, like a run of astrology readings, only to finally conclude that I will not be doing astrology readings anymore. So this is like an overview of my 2022, but let me just dive in a little bit deeper into my whys and what was going on for me. So, as the headline of this video says, it has been the quietest year of my life. And I'm not complaining. I loved it. I'm one of those people who, and if you're familiar with my other channel, like a personal channel, She Maverick, which I'll link here, if you haven't already checked it out. I love watching time watching time go by, pass by. I don't like rushing things. I'm a Taurus rising, Taurus sun, Saturn in Taurus. Hence the image on this video, which is a bull or a cow, actually. I'm not sure, one of the bovine creatures like me. And yes, one of the Taurus medicine is idleness. I experimented with idleness. I created an Instagram account which was private, and it still is. It's like my diary, but because I'm such a sucker for beauty, and well, beauty in my definition of it, and visuals basically, I adore Instagram platform because it gives me that, I can play with visuals, and I love that. It's like my online diary, and I've been acting there regularly, like you would be with your journal, right? And I'm not intending, maybe one day I'll make it public, but it's not really, it's, you know, often as journals can be a bit boring, just like, you know, recording data, as it were, with obviously always insights, but it can still be a bit boring, I think. So anyway, but I created it, so I was active there, but essentially I was exploring idleness and just being with what is, as opposed to trying to, and I spoke about this in my newsletter. If you like I say, were or are a subscriber, and it was, I mean, it was. I mean, if you're a treble Taurus, as I consider myself to be, having Saturn on the ascendant in Taurus, so there are three big points in my chart in Taurus on in such a prominent place like the ascendant, right? Then yeah, I consider myself a triple Taurus, and then all of that, just like being with what is the reality of the now. It's essentially like the Ferdinand character of Disney, like the little bull who just wants to smell the daisies. And he doesn't care about bullfighting or all that Scorpio drama. I'm using only Scorpio because Scorpio is the opposite. Not that so many other signs love drama too. But it's that kind of intense life and death kind of drama, which is Scorpio, which is opposite to Taurus. And so no Taurus is ever complete without that drama. But Taurus does have this like a priority of seeking peace and quiet and simplicity of life. And idleness was, like I said, one of the themes that I was exploring. And there's a lot of guilt associated with just doing nothing. And I'm lucky, always mention that here as a caveat, I'm lucky that I can afford to not do anything because I'm financially comfortable and taken care of. So I can afford to. But it was still a very edgy experience to just do nothing, and even this was edgy to come out of the nothingness and idleness and not really showing up here was another smallish edge for me as well. So that's partly why I was so quiet, because I wanted to be quiet as opposed to, oh, I should do this, I should create, I should produce, I should and in terms of astrology, I took a sabbatical, as it were, and I do this regularly, not in a sense of taking a sabbatical, but checking in with myself, because I'm always so mindful that astrology doesn't become my crutch, that I hide behind, and that I use it as excuses as opposed to just a map, crutch is when you're like in a dark room and you can't see anything, it's not, it's okay, I think, to have things to hold on to. Again, I don't know the word for it, like staircases have those things like on the side, right, that you can hold on to. And so in that sense, astrology is a crutch, but there are times and there are ways in which that crutch is essential, necessary. I mean, we are not just spirit and soul, which is, ethereal and insubstantial and non-corporeal. We are a body, and body is a crutch. It holds us together. So holding yourself onto a rail, I think it's a good word, as you walk through a terrain that you don't understand, you don't know, you're scared of, it's for the first time, you're feeling your way through it. I think holding on to something is good, and it's okay. But there is a point that we can overstep go aboard and take it too far and stay with it for too long beyond the necessary and essential service and that it does for us, holding on to it. And so this is what I do, like with astrology, but I made it like a big, because my business was all about astrology, so I made it like, it looked like a big deal because it was a big deal. I had to kind of withdraw my business essentially for a good solid 6 months, and not look at astrology or not work with astrology with myself as much. And I wasn't, I never will stop using astrology as a way of living, but I certainly released that grip of like, I have to. And also another piece there, important one, to do with the business part of this story, is that there was always a sense of like, there's something off about being an astrologer for me. Like that identity never sat, I never wore it comfortably enough or well enough, I don't feel. And as you know, even here, I tried to do it well. And I did it differently in the sense that I always spoke of my own experience, through my own experience. I don't do the typical reports of the latest transits, although I did. My first iteration of Darker Materials was me following a conventional path of how to do astrology, more so than I, maybe less so than some people, but certainly more again than I actually wanted to. And so those 6 months in 2022 were a time for me to figure out how I want to do that. with as a profession, as work, as my work, because, and it's always a dilemma because, like I say, I live astrologically, so it's inevitable I want to bring that to working with other people, but not in the way that I have been doing it. And then I had a last blast without knowing, but I just wanted to reconnect with people, and I offered a super cheap kind of way to work with me, and I had a blast. It was fantastic. But I ultimately realized that where I get really what I care about, or what makes it a satisfying experience for me, is to actually go deep with you. And where if it's a one-off reading, which is kind of what I've been doing, and in that last blast in October, November, I did just now, ultimately those were just one-off readings. I mean, there were some repeat clients, but still. And still, like after a year of seeing them again. And I was feeling every time, sometimes more or less depending who they were and how far we could go, and how deep rather and far we can go in that 1 hour, right? I would feel dissatisfied. I would feel like something's lacking, like I only touched the surface, and the hour expired, and you know, we closed the call, but there was so much left unsaid that I didn't have time, or even, it's not just that I didn't have time. I know, and I was a coach way before I did this work, Darker Materials, so I worked with people, helping them uncover their answers, uncover their darker materials and find answers for themselves. And it's just, and that was more of a kind of traditional coaching model where you're with them for a few months, and it's far more satisfying in that sense, because some people, like, well, I also do, I'm sure, we all do, sometimes it takes far longer to uncover layers and peel off the layers to get to the kernel of the wisdom that you carry, that you are seeking. The answers that you're seeking take time to get to. 1 hour cannot do it justice. But because, you know, Scorpio 7th house and Neptune, I can see the bigger picture. I can see the totality of you, Neptune, right? And also penetrate into the detail of it, being Pluto in Virgo, but also a Scorpio 7th house. And so I feel frustrated. It's like, I can see all of this, and I can see you're not ready because we're not there yet. You know, in an hour we can only do so much. And so I was like, I would feel frustrated. And I was like, And if I felt like it was a disservice to you, as in, sure, people go, you know, 1 hour reading is fantastic in itself. It has its value and purpose, and I absolutely am agreeing with that. But I feel like my value, like I'm being wasted as a helper to you, right? If I just have one-off readings. So I'm going to be introducing something very different way of working with me. It will be in 2023 onwards. So astrology will always be part of it, but will not be readings. So, and there is also that piece, actually, I haven't gotten to that actually now, I will, which is, I also I'm one of these people who find that I don't care to help you. What I care is to help you help yourself. So I'm Moon in Capricorn, that's my mantra. It's not even a mantra, it's like, it is how I am and who I am. And so readings can sometimes be, well, they are, you know, most of the time, are my interpretation of you. And I think it's one of the steps. So if we are using, if we're thinking of how we get to our truth, how we get to individuate, how we get to unfold, how we get to become more of who we are, that is an essential step to receive someone else's take on us. And as you may know, if you're my hardcore fan, you have heard me and hopefully and probably experienced me speak, or if you had readings with me, speak of the triggers as medicine. So even in my readings, I would say follow your triggers, because they're your cue and clue where to go. Because I can only touch on so much, and you, I'm sure you experience either with me or someone else. I certainly have as a client with other astrologers, that a lot of the stuff that's being said, however true and insightful and wise and smart and intelligent and skillful it is, it doesn't really touch on what's alive for me in that moment. And that's just the logistics of 1 hour, meeting someone for the first time and having the chat. That's just that it cannot be better than that. That's just how it is, right? But yeah, so it's inevitable. It's like how it's the model itself operates like that. And I don't like it. I just want to show you how you can do. So I even tried astrology tutorials, which didn't work for various reasons I'm not going to go into here. So I'm always driven. I want to show you how you can interpret yourself. And again, not by telling you how to interpret yourself, but giving you all the tools that you can then collect and work with and figure out for yourself. And my last summer school, like 2021 summer, and the new offering that's more than that, it's like a next upgrade of that I'll be running in 2023, will be is me giving you all the tools, like such a in-depth, broad tools. In my case of this offering, we're going through each of the 12 houses, which is a journey of your individuation and self-integration. But the other video will be about that. But I just want to touch on this piece that's where I get so excited. I just want you to come to me with your own interpretations, and me then help you refine it. So I have finally owned that on the back of my this October and November readings that I've done, and declared myself that I will not be doing one-to-one readings, which you can find on my website as well, and that's why. So this is why. And so because this darker materials piece is a business, an astrology business, shadow work, astrology for shadow work, right? Business. I just couldn't, because there wasn't astrology in it anymore for that time that I took off. I just didn't know what to speak about here. And so the last piece is the business piece, which I still can't believe. Well, I actually can. Okay, it might come to me. There was a moment a few weeks ago when I realized maybe why it took me this long. But anyway, so if it comes back to me, I'll speak to it. If not, if I won't. So the piece that I never clocked on before was that business, or running a business, being an entrepreneur is the ultimate shadow work. I mean, that would have sold it to me completely. But for the reasons I still am not remembering, well, for some reason, yeah, and there is a reason, like I say, I can't remember yet, I just it just never clocked in, like I never really clicked with this sentence that business is the ultimate shadow work. And I did this autumn, again in October, November time. It was the eclipse time, and there always are, major portals for major transformation. And so I was listening to various people who are not astrologers. So I was turning towards business side of things as opposed to astrology, in terms of my interest and like just wanting to build this business. But like, just how do I do this? Because astrology model doesn't work for me. The business model of astrologers, or how to be an astrologer, right? The one I've seen around, doesn't work for me. So that's why I turned to just business in general. And that was a revelation. And so I've been on that journey, still am, and it's just amazing. And it is a new chapter, proper new chapter for me personally. But also will be showing here, and I'm currently still playing with what platforms, because I'm now approaching this as business as opposed to astrology. That's what I mean. Like, the astrology model is like you show up as the transits show up, and you speak of it, and then you talk about transits and planets, and that's not going to be the focus anymore for me. It will be the backdrop to it, but it won't be the what I'm driving with. And I'm still refining what that is, because it's been only a few months since I've been trying to figure out how that is. And this school that I'm launching in February, we start in February. I have launched it the other day. So it's open for enrollment, is one aspect of this new way of being and working, and astrology is essential to it, but it will be one of the fewer offerings that I will be focusing, the astrology will still have such a center stage. So if you're in here for the astrology reasons, that you want to check the video coming after this one. And so the business piece about shadow work, it was like, whoa, like I can actually use my journey as a businesswoman and as an entrepreneur as part of my content. And that's the piece and astrology is still integral to it, because this is how I am and who I am. So it will still be present, but like I say, more as a backdrop. And yes, I'm still figuring out how I'm going to be talking about business journey of mine, because that's what I'm working with, and I'm bringing what's alive for me, because that's what's most juicy and most alive, right, for you as well. May not be something you're resonating with, or it might not be where you're at, but it will attract, that vibration will attract whoever can learn something from me. And that's the piece. We want to be giving something that's alive for us, as opposed to a model that we have learned because that's how most people do, or some in the past, or someone who you respect and like, you know. And on that note, I'm going to just say this one piece, and I was hoping this would be less than half an hour, which I'm going to be able to do. Actually, let me just... Okay. So to close the circle, is that a word? Yeah. To come back full circle to astrology. This is something I go through every time I go through a detox with astrology. Like, okay, have I used it too much to give me the answers that I want, as opposed to what my truth is that I'm actually avoiding to see and admit and all that, right? So detox, that's kind of throughout my whole life. I've been doing this on and off, regularly rather. And so when I did it here this year, I was that journey of being refocusing or focusing on my business as opposed to astrology confirmed the value of astrology to me. So, and how that happened was I was following or finding people, content creators who are business people, entrepreneurs themselves, right? And I adore their philosophy about business. And thankfully, this is a younger generation of entrepreneurs, and they're far more open about their charts and their birthdays. And so I know everyone's birthday, and or at least details, astrological details, enough to kind of give me a clue, and human design and gene keys and all that. And I did look into that. And every time, and I started to look into someone else's astrology the moment I'm starting to feel like the initial pull, the initial resonance isn't there anymore. Well, at least it's kind of like, the same one is still there, but it's like as you move through a certain, as you journey with a person, right, there comes a juncture at which point you feel like, this doesn't resonate anymore with me, this other thing that I'm now learning, right? Or something from the beginning that wasn't so clear, but it was a bit off, you just couldn't really figure out why it's not really sitting with you so well, was now becoming clear why. And every time these answers were just like popping out at me from that chart and my chart. And I'm reminded of my own truth by going back to my chart and remembering that I am blah, 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 blah. And they're not. They're blah, 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 whatever, right? They're just, and I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. So I'm taking and so we don't need astrology to tell us this, right? We can just follow your gut. But I personally, maybe because I have so much earth, I have no water, apart from Neptune, and that's like in Scorpio, but that's it, right? I don't have that kind of sense to kind of follow my own flow, like on the intuition isn't I don't access it so easily. I'm earth, I'm a bit too dense. And so astrology helps me. It's the system of meaning making that I have chosen decades ago, and I have since seen how it does me wonders. And so I personally, and you maybe too, need to come back to something like outside of yourself, almost like I want something that feels a bit outside of myself, to give me that distance, to give me that objectivity almost, that it's not just because I fancy or it serves me in this moment. That's how I'm checking that whether I'm in integrity, whether I'm doing something because I fear it, or I'm avoiding something, or because it's actually my truth. And so astrology helps me. Astrology is my tool for that check-in, for that reality check, my truth check, right? And so yeah, that was why well, not why, but that was just another layer of like reminder once again. And it always feels fresh. Like, I love that. You always kind of, I don't know, maybe because every chart is so different, and another chart, another person reminds you or brings you back to parts of yourself that you have either forgotten for a long time because you didn't have to use them. So even though this process of detoxing and then coming back to astrology and then finding out that it works again and again and again is fresh every time, even though it's again and again and again, it would suggest repetitiveness and staleness and a lack of freshness. And yet freshness is essential to me, to my own design and my own charts, right? And so I know, I trust that it's my feeling that it's fresh. It's actually real freshness. So there's an example of that. Okay, and on that note, yeah, I hope you get me. I hope you understand. I hope you follow. I hope you are happy for me that I have taken the time off and that I have arrived at this point. And I hope your 2022 was also a year of coming to yourself more. I mean, we had North Node in Taurus, and sure, that's certainly my first house, super important house. And then Saturn was squaring the Uranus and the nodes in Taurus, right? But Taurus, wherever in your chart you have it, that part of you, you would be, hopefully, you have come to your own self-reliant truth, self-sufficient truth. And yeah, so I hope you're gonna stick around and you're gonna even come to my school. That next video will be about that.